Hi, I'm Marna, and this is the Twin Flame Detox. I apologize for the external noise. However, it was 100 degrees today, and the temperature in this house has been brutal. Welcome to Georgia in the summer. So, I was talking to a client of mine, and this particular young man did not understand how we could be an energetic being separate from our physical vessel. So I figured that's something that, if he had the question, other people did too. So let's address that. All right. We can all agree that this physical vessel is what we generally think of when we say us. It is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of your friend. What does their physical vessel look like? What does their body look like? Their smile, their face, their eyes. When we're describing someone, this is what we describe. Because of that perception that this is us, we tend to very heavily relate to the notion that this is all that we are. And particularly if you're one of those people who comes from a background of logical thought only, it can be very, very hard to make the paradigm shift into thinking of yourself as being separate from the Meatsuit. So let's go back into quantum physics again. We know from Einsteinian equations that matter exists in two forms. It is either mass or it is energy. These two forms can switch back and forth. It takes a lot of effort, but it can be done. E equals mc squared is the equation for a reason. The amount of energy used to keep the mass going is directly proportional to the amount of mass. Basic science, right? This is all stuff we learned in grade school or middle school, somewhere in there. It was a long time ago, I forget. So, inside of this meat suit that we were walking around in, we have a 3-pound lump of what's essentially fats and proteins and a little bit of water to keep it all lubed up. Bathed in a saline solution that creates a superconductor effect. Somehow, this 3-pound lump of flesh has an electric current running through it that's a little bit less than what you have for standard standard power voltage of a light bulb in your house. From that, we get the absolutely incredible supercomputer that makes everything we do possible. That is the bio basis of what makes it possible for us to do the 15,000 calculations that are needed for every step we take. Yes, it really is that complicated when you work in all of the muscle differentials. These are things that we aren't even consciously aware that we are doing. These are basically, in the biocomputer of our brain, these are programs that run in the background. This is stuff that, is running the operating system. This is stuff that we don't even think about being there. We are not even consciously aware of how much we're using it. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, it seems very unusual to think that a 3-pound lump of soggy bacon would be doing computations on that level completely on its own. Something else is making that possible. That something else may be contained in the meat suit, but it is not part of the meat suit. So I want to do a quick exercise with you. Pick up a random object around the house. And this is an ink pen. Look at this object that you're holding. Ask yourself, up here, what is this? And you should get an answer of, this is a pen. Who just answered you? Who gave you the answer to the question you asked? The answer was there. You didn't even have to think about it. But where did it come from? No, I'm not trying to freak you out, I promise. The subconscious is constantly interacting with the conscious. It's just the conscious is not always aware of it. The subconscious is constantly feeding us a litany of thoughts. I've heard that there are people who don't always hear that litany, and quite honestly, I envy them because the silence must be nice. But for most of us, there is a steady stream of chatter going on up here. We may tune it out, but it's still going on. You have a steady narration going, unfortunately not in Morgan Freeman's voice, of I see a fan, I see a leaf, I see a car driving by. You have a constant litany of what is in your surroundings. And we have been programmed to basically tune that out. We don't listen to our inner self and what our inner self is saying. Because we don't listen to those inner thoughts, we are not aware of them as thoughts. We are not keeping an eye on what those thoughts would be. Now, this is where you start getting into trouble when it comes to manifestation, because it's those secret thoughts that you're ignoring that are going to be manifesting the most. But those thoughts that you're ignoring are also the running dialogue of your true self, of who you really are. And that true self does not remain confined to just this vessel. When you look at experiments that parapsychologists have been doing on aura reading, I was subject of one of these experiments back in the 80s, so this has been going on for a very long time. One thing that they'll do is they will register how well a test subject can control the biomagnetic output that is generally recognized as an aura. It's a lot easier than you would think. All it takes to control the entire electromagnetic field that your body is constantly projecting, all it takes to control all of that is just thinking it. Taking your thoughts, focusing them, and directing them into this is the result I want. It really is that simple. You would not be able to do this if your energetic field was completely confined within the Meatsuit. If you were at such an integral part of your vessel that you had no external control over what is around you. So that's what it means to be an energetic being inside of a physical vessel. Yes, for the vast majority of people, being in this Meatsuit is all you experience in this lifetime. It is all you think to know. However, when you start looking at the great philosophers of history, when you start looking at the interactions of the biomechanical energy we produce and quantum physics, when you start looking at how the world really works on an energetic level, you come to realize that this whole thing, this is not us. This is just the container we're in right now. This is no more us than a mug of tea becomes the tea. If you have a cup of water, you put it in a mug. The water is contained within the mug. It does not maintain the shape of the mug. It is not solely of the mug. It can be moved to another container and still maintain its inherent properties as water, no matter how well it may have filled the mug before. That is what our energetic being is. We can move from container to container and completely change everything about what we project as we move from container to container, simply because our container is not all of us. It is simply what contains us right now. I hope that cleared it up a little bit. If it didn't, leave me some comments. Tell me. If there are parts of that, that's a fairly deep dive and it's pretty esoteric. If I need to go further in depth on that, let me know. I'll be happy to do it again. So, thank you for joining me, and welcome to the Twin Flame Detox.